Hello. Hello. Is the audio, video, everything fine? Then we'll get started. Just check audio, video, everything is fine. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, today we'll be learning about assumption based questions, very important in the last few years. Now, this is sometimes a little tricky, so we will need to learn some more new things here. Okay, some little more rules and then little more attention to detail. That's it. Now, let's see. First thing, this is those three rules you remember that we had seen, that once you read the RC, you are using GS only for elimination of option. After that, everything is on RC. Second was majoritarian approach, correct, which is majority approach, which is covering all the things given in the passage. And then the last was indicator words, correct, which words you have to focus on and which words you need to stop focusing after, correct. Then we learnt about two traps also, correct. One trap was that small RC does not mean easy, and the other trap was that if keywords are used or some buzzword which are not in the passage, then they tend to be wrong, correct, or you can eliminate them. Now let's see here. So this is the fourth rule, which is for assumption based question. First, you have to do intensive reading, correct, because assumptions are sometimes very tricky. So you have to do intensive reading, and not all encompassing is okay here, correct. Just like corollary it was okay, here also it is okay. Understood? Why? Because some assumption from, let's say, usually there are 2-3 assumptions. Now of course all of them will be not all encompassing, correct. So those are fine. Now this is the most important line that you need to remember in your head whenever you are doing assumption based question, which is your assumption must have a basis in the passage that you can clearly mark. Now that basis may be explicit, that you can clearly mark that, yeah, here it is mentioned that climate change is affecting agriculture, correct. Now sometimes it may be implicit also, that is not very clearly visible, but by the understanding of certain lines of the passage you can say, because these 2-3 lines are written, that means the author is implicitly saying that this might be the impact of, let's say, climate change. Understood? So explicit and implicit both. Explicit is very easy to find, okay. Implicit ones are sometimes little tricky, but that also, if you read carefully and you are trying to find that particular thing in the passage, you will find it then. Now this is the third trap. See, RC is very difficult, okay. Let's say the words in the RC are very technical, very difficult. Now people tend to get scared that there only. You need not be scared. What I have seen is, when the RC is extremely difficult, they make the statements easy. Many times they make the statements very easy, for which you don't even need to understand the RC fully. Very easily you can eliminate. It will have some extreme statements like only, this, not, never, like this, these words are used. You can very clearly eliminate them. So that's why you first, if you read a passage and you don't understand anything, it's very technical in nature, what you tend to do, you will leave the question. But what I am saying, in assumption based questions, see the statements also before leaving. So before leaving, just see the statements also. Sometimes they are very easily eliminatable, okay. Then next, how to attempt an, yes Aditya, good afternoon, okay. So next thing is yeah, next thing is how to attempt an assumption based question. Now here it is little different, okay. We learned, whatever we learned was for other keywords, for example crux, main idea, central idea, corollary, or for inference. For all of them we follow that same process. For assumption, we followed slightly different process. Okay, there's a reason why we do this, because what I have seen, see, when I used to solve, I would just do the same way, but what I have found that students do it more wrong when they try to attempt assumption based question. If they read the question and options first, so then they are doing more wrong. Why? Because they have some preconceived notions and they don't like have very deep base of GS mains, so sometimes they tend to do it wrong. So that's why this is the approach that we follow in assumption based question, and this has fetched much better results in them. Okay, now read the RC. First thing, mark the keywords. Mark the keywords. Now, not more than 5 6 or and max 7 8 keywords you can mark. Now, what I would do, I will mark nouns with circle. For example, climate change is a noun, agriculture is a noun, malnutrition is a noun. All these I will circle, and the adjective or the verb that is underlying it or that is related to it, that I will just underline. For example, if it says that India has seen major decrease in malnutrition. So now malnutrition is a noun, so that I will circle, but major decrease, major increase, or drastically changing over the years, this, that, all that, I will just put a small underline. So that if I put the same marking everywhere, then what happens? A lot of it looks marked. And then when I'm checking the assumptions, it becomes difficult. So noun with circle, adjective or verb just with underlines. Okay, then see the statements. After this, you see the statements. Now, correct, you will consider it correct only if basis is present in the RC. If you can clearly find out that this is emanating from this part of the RC, then you consider it correct. Otherwise, it is from GS, according to your GS knowledge, whatever is there, all that is wrong. You must find out the match the column basis for it, explicit or implicit, both. Eventually, then you will mark your answer. Understood? So this is the way to attempt assumption based questions. Now, one thing before this is this. Now, in 2025, what I have seen, they have started doing this. That is, they give one passage. In 2025 specifically, they did this. Otherwise, in most year, they give only one question. So either it is assumption or it is crux or main idea question. Now, in 2025, what they did, in most passages, they gave two kinds of question. One was assumption and the other was crux, main idea, inference, or all that same bucket. Now, what you have to do here is this. Okay, you first read the crux or main idea question. Otherwise, what I have seen, that when they read the passage first to do the assumption based question, first thing, people don't remember the entire passage while they are doing the second question. So that is a problem, correct? They are not able to remember everything that was there, and then they tend to read the question again, read the RC again. Not a very good practice. So what I would suggest is, first you read the crux or main idea question. Okay, now you eliminate using ego, extreme statements, generalization, or opposite to GS, correct? Our same process. Now usually what we do, after we have done this process, we just skim through the passage. But because there is an assumption based question also that follows, so we will read the RC carefully, like we do for assumption questions. Then we are marking keywords also, correct? Because we have to do an assumption question also later, correct? Then we are marking keywords also, so that some connections can be made. Now, while reading intensively, of course, you will see what is the crux of the passage. Because you had those two things, let's say, in mind, you will see it very clearly that this passage is all about that only. So crux you can just mark in the middle. While reading only, you can mark the crux question very easily. Don't wait for it. You will see it in the middle only, like, this is about that. So you just mark the crux question. Now, you continue with the reading of the passage. Once the reading of the passage is done, then you read the assumption statements, mark the answer. This is extremely time saving. Okay, if you follow the traditional approach, that is, you read the passage first and then you try to do both, you will find that it gets haphazard. Because first thing, you read the passage, then you read the 4 options for the crux question, in which 3 of them were wrong, correct? And all this becomes haphazard in your mind when you are doing the assumption based question, where you again have 3 statements. So it gets clumsy. That's why please try to follow this approach. Understood? Fine. Now, if you get all this, now we will solve some assumption based questions together, the printout that you have, and after that, like it will take a quite a few minutes, okay? Let's say half an hour or 45 minutes it will take to explain all those assumption based questions to you, and then you will have to do the test where you will have collection of all the questions from 2023, okay? It was a good paper 2023. 2017 was still easier. This will be little better than that. Okay, then let's get started. Any other doubt you have, you can ask. All this is fine. The basic rules, how we should be attempting assumption based questions, this must be clear. Okay, and then we can start doing the questions. Hello Neelam. Good afternoon Shankar. Good afternoon Aditya. Okay. Now, see this. First, we will read the passage first. Why? Because this is about assumptions. So, this is which of the following assumptions are valid? This is the question. Now, let's read it. The flower was not invented to please us. So, this is about flower. Okay. Then, it flaunted its petals and spread its perfume to attract an insect. So what flower wants to do? It wants to attract an insect. See, I have marked the nouns, that is flower and insect here, and attract and I have just underlined. Correct. Then next, the insect carries the pollen from flower to flower so that pollen is not carried away by wind and thus not wasted. So this is about pollen. And who carries it? Insect. Correct. Then what we calls a flower's beauty is merely a byproduct and a human invention. So this is flower's beauty. What is this? This is a byproduct and a human invention. The perfume is not there to please us. It pleases us because it is there and we have been conditioned to it. So the claim is what? That flowers were not invented to please us. They were invented to actually attract insect or please insects so that the insects comes to them. And why are insects required? To transfer the pollen from one flower to another. And it says that flower's beauty is just a byproduct. That flower looks very beautiful, it has a beautiful smell, all that is just a byproduct and a human invention. Flower didn't want to do all this for us. Understood? Now, let's read the assumptions. The author of the passage believes that the flowers are creations of nature's luxury. What do you think? Nature's luxury, is it luxury? The whole passage is about that flower is very important and it is whatever we call as flower's beauty is just a human invention. What is a flower? What is a flower? Flower is the reproductive organ of a plant. Okay. So is it a matter of nature's luxury? No, it is a matter of nature's necessity. Otherwise, how will the plant reproduce? Reproduction is the fundamental property of any living being. Correct? So this is wrong. Correct? The passage also says this. Implicitly, it says that it is not for us to enjoy this, that. The flower is a very important part and transfer pollen from flower to flower. So that means it is reproductive organ. Then the author of the passage does not believe in the usefulness of flowers except as things of beauty. Correct? The author is in fact claiming that flowers are very important, not just as a thing of beauty. It is actually the opposite of what the author was saying. So author's whole claim is the flower that you like so much, smells so good, looks so good, it is not for your goodness or you feeling good. It is a reproductive organ that is important to attract insects and to help in the reproduction of the plant. This is the point of the author. So both of these are wrong, answer becomes neither. Yes, Dheeraj. Yes. Understood? So this is how you have to do. As you saw here, I marked certain words like flower, insects. Now, insect carries pollen, flowers beauty, byproduct of human invention. Now, these assumptions were easy, but even if they were not, I just by reading the rounded words, I can think what might be there. So flower, insect, pollen, flowers beauty is a human invention. Now, can you make the connections? Yes. And this helps you in retention also when you are doing the passage. Then next. Now, same process we'll follow. Okay. When a child reaches adolescence, correct, there is apt to be a conflict between the parents and the child. So in adolescence there is conflict between the parents and the child, correct. Then since the latter means what, that is the child, correct. Since the latter considers himself to be by now quite capable of managing his own affairs, while the former are filled with parental solicitude. Now, parental solicitude, now, which is often a disguise for love of power, not power of love, love of power. That is, parents want to control their children completely, correct. Then parents consider usually that the various moral problems which carries in adolescence are peculiarly their province. So that means parents are thinking that this is their kingdom and everything they will manage about the child. Okay, then the options they express, okay, however, are so dogmatic that, so what are dogmatic? The options that they express, the parents, that the young seldom confide in them, okay, and usually go their own way in secret. So what is happening? Children are of course not able to, because dogmatic means what? Dakyanusi. That is, they are very like traditional in the way, which is not very aligned with the current world. So that's why the young people are rarely able to confide in them, and they will just take a secret path. They won't say anything to the parent, but they will take a different path, or they will take agency of their own lives. Correct? Now, you understood the passage. Now, let's see this. The adolescent does not feel comfortable with his parents because they tend to be dominating and assertive. What do you think? Is it talking about this? Is the passage talking about this? Yes, the passage does talk about this. Why? Because it says that there is a conflict between parent and the child. Why? Because parents take over control over them. So the adolescent does not feel comfortable with his parents because they tend to be dominating and assertive. Correct? As you can see here, it is talking about that peculiarly their province. Okay, they consider, this is an example of love of power. So all this is saying this. Then the adolescent of modern times does not have much respect for parents. Tell me about the second statement. I won't mark it. You tell me. Is it correct or incorrect? Second statement. Dheeraj is saying A. Okay. Others? What do you think about the second statement? Dheeraj is saying incorrect. Not correct. Yes. Okay. Now, this is a clear case of challenging your preconceived notions. Now, the adolescent of modern time does not have much respect for parents. No. Understand this difference. So, people have a notion that if they are not listening to their parents, whatever their parents are saying, if they are not doing that, then they are disrespecting the parents. That is not true. Taking agency of your life is not disrespecting your parents. This bifurcation should be clear in your mind. That is why it very clearly says that they take a different path in secret. So he's not going and fighting with them, but he is doing what he should be doing, or what he thinks according to him is right. So does not respect much respect for parents is absolutely wrong. Answer becomes one only. Okay, then let's do this. Now, conventional classrooms, by emphasizing fixed duration over learning effectiveness, okay, resign themselves to variable outcomes. So this is about conventional classrooms, okay, and they emphasizing on fixed duration over learning effectiveness, correct? Then the tyranny of the classroom is that every learner is subjected to the same set of lectures in the same way for the same duration, correct? So it is about same set of lectures, same way for the same duration, correct? This is the traditional classroom environment that we have. Hundreds of students are sitting and all of them are being taught the same thing the same way. Then in the end, a few learners shine, correct? A few students work or do very well, some survive and the rest are left behind. Then after the fixed duration, the classroom model moves on, correct? Then you have the next class with not a thought spared for those left behind, correct? Then this is how we end up with 10% employability. So this is talking about that we have 10% employability in our graduates after a decade and a half of formal education. So after so much of formal education, then also we have very low employability because conventional classroom teach the same thing same way for same duration. Then repeating the same ineffectual script in the realm of skill education will not produce results. So if we do the same thing in skill education, it will not produce results. Understood? The passage is clear, correct? Now, what I have marked, can you see? I have not marked anything here. You are understanding why? Because I understood that it is first saying that conventional classrooms, by emphasizing fixed duration over learning effectiveness. That means conventional classrooms, it is critiquing the conventional classroom. Then it is holding it responsible for 10% employability. Then it says because of 10% employability after a lot of formal education. Now, if we do the same thing in skill education, it will not work. Correct? Now, let's read the statements. As a large number of workers in our country are employed in unorganized sector, okay, India does not need to change its present conventional classroom system of education. Extreme statement. Also, completely wrong. It is about critiquing the conventional classrooms. Then, even with its present conventional classroom system of education, India produces sufficient number of skilled workers to fully realize the benefits of demographic dividend. This also is wrong. Correct? Why wrong? Because employability is 10%, fully realizing demographic dividend. Absolutely wrong. So answer becomes neither. Here, the statements were very easy to do it anyway, without the passage also. But if you develop this habit, now some people, if they do it like this, some questions you will get correct, sometimes you will get more incorrect also. That's why follow the approach. Does not matter if the statement were easy. You just read the passage properly and then see the statements. Okay. Then not every voice on the internet commands the same kind of audience. When anonymous private entities with high capital can pay for more space for their opinions, they are effectively buying a louder voice. Let's see. You do this. I'll wait. Let's see. Do it properly, mark the keywords, what do you think, then read the statements, then do it properly. Doing things fast does not mean that you don't follow the process. This I tell for the entire CSAT paper. Doing things fast should not be via some random tricks, this, that, here, this work. No, it should be about doing the logical process much faster. Understood? So this process that you are following, this you should be doing very fast. Instead of switching to this time let's do like this, that time let's do like that, this one is also working, let's see the statements, let's eliminate some of them, let's go there, then read half the passage, come back. Don't do this. Follow the process, practice so much that the same process becomes fast enough. That's the core philosophy. Okay. Neelam is saying 2 only. Okay. Shweta is saying C. Dheeraj is saying C. Okay. Let's see. Now, it says not every voice on the internet commands the same kind of audience. So the audience is different for different voices. So voice and audience is not equal. Okay, then when anonymous private entities with high capital can pay for more space for their opinions, they are effectively buying a louder voice. Who is buying a louder voice? Anonymous private entities. Correct? Then if political discourse in the digital sphere is a matter of outshining one's opponent till the election is won, then the quality of politics suffers. Then what suffers? If this same thing goes on, then politics suffer. The focus of social media, okay, is restricted to the promotion of content that generates more user engagement. Correct? Regardless of how inflammatory the content may be. Understood? Understood? Now, first thing, you read this. Second statement. Internet can adversely affect the quality of politics in the country. Politics suffers. Direct match. This is absolutely correct. Now, first, internet is not inclusive enough. Internet is not inclusive enough. What do you think? Is this correct or incorrect according to the passage? Now, this is not explicitly mentioned, but it does talk about that every voice does not have the same audience. Having the same voice is also intrinsic to inclusiveness. Understood? For example, let's say I say that we'll have a meeting, okay, in which all the faculties will be there, and let's say I pick Shweta. So Shweta is representing the students, she'll be also there. So I bring all of you. So we start the meeting. All the faculties are there. Shweta is also there as the student representative. Whenever she speaks anything, we all just ignore her. We just ignore her. We keep continuing the meeting and we decide whatever we want to. Now, on its face, it is inclusive because we included the student also, the student representative also, but we didn't give her the same voice. Is it really inclusivity? It is not. Correct? So, if same voice is not commanding the same audience, then that is also against the principle of inclusiveness. So, internet is not inclusive enough is also given here. Okay. So, answer becomes both of these are correct. This I have written, like there is a book called Overdoing Democracy where it talks about that India has achieved one vote, one value. Now we need to achieve one vote, one value, one voice also. Okay, that is every person should have the same or equal voice also in a democracy. That is a principle we need to strive for. So sometime if you want to use in GS. Then next. Neelam, understood? Try it, try it. Let's see. Neelam, is it clear why we chose 1 and 2? Do it, everyone. Okay, see, so if you see this passage, many concepts of economy has been used here. Okay, all those connections that we make with inflation, interest rate, government bond yields, all that has been used here. Now, crowding in, crowding out, all that has been used here. Now, why I have kept this passage, okay, and why UPSC also asked this, is not for you to check your understanding, because this requires very good understanding of economy. Okay, now see this. If RC is difficult, statements are many times easy. So see the statements also before leaving. So now, if you started reading the passage and the passage seemed very difficult to you, okay, what you should do, if you think that this is a very typical passage, okay, one thing is related to this, correct, you just by reading a few lines you understand that this is going very complex. Now you read the statements also. If the statements are also complex, which is a rare phenomena, then you just leave it. It is not worth the time. It will take like 2-3 minutes. It is not worth the time. But in most cases, what you will find, that if the passage is this tough, you will see the statements, they are easily eliminatable. Now see this. So you read this, everything is logically following. At least this you understand, that yeah, inflation is affecting the interest rate is affecting the government bond yields, all that you understand. Now see, fiscal policies of governments are solely responsible for higher prices. The passage does not say anything like this. Also, this is completely opposite or incorrect. Okay, the passage is, at least this you understand, that passage is following your GS understanding or GS knowledge. So it is in line with your GS knowledge. So this is wrong. Then higher prices do not affect the long-term government bonds. What do you think? This is factually wrong. Nobody can justify this. Of course, the higher prices will affect government bonds. So both of these are wrong. Answer becomes D. Yes, Shweta. Yes, Neela. Yes, Dheeraj. Understood? So before leaving, just check once. Maybe the statements are also difficult, then you can leave it. I don't have a problem. Then, yeah. Okay. Do it, everyone. Now, this is like a beautifully written passage. Now, see, only with long experience and opening of his wares on a beach where his language is not spoken will the merchant come to know the worth of what he carries. Okay, and what is parochial and what is universal in his choice. Now, you need to have little bit of understanding, or some things you must have read, like the normal novels and all this, okay, to understand this. So what he's saying, that only after a person has been to different shores, so instead of shores they have used beach. So when he has been to different shores, different countries around the world, then only he really understands that what values or qualities that he has is parochial, that is, it is specific to where he belongs. Now some qualities I have because I am an Indian, and some qualities I have because these are universal human values. Correct? So this bifurcation becomes clear only when I travel abroad. Okay, now such delicate goods such as justice, love and honor, courtesy, and indeed all things we care for are valued everywhere. So there are some values that are valued everywhere then, but they are variously molded and often differently handled and sometimes hardly recognizable. Correct? Because the manifestation is very different. Of what you consider love in India may be considered something else in the other part of the world. What you consider friendship in India, a simple platonic friendship, may be considered something really bad in some of the countries that are much more conservative in the sense. Correct? So all these things vary. Then recognizable if you meet them in a foreign land. And the art of learning fundamental common values is perhaps the greatest gain of travel. To those who wish to live at ease among their fellows. Understood? So it talks about two things. Traveling is important to understand what about you is parochial, what about you is universal, and through this you understand certain fundamental common values that all humans have. And only when you understand this, you can live at ease among the fellows or among other humans. This is what the passage is saying. Now let's read it. Travel leads to an understanding of humans. Correct? You're understanding the core human values, you're understanding how they work, everything. So yeah, this is correct in general. Then travels helps those who wish to learn fundamental common values. Exactly mentioned, correct. Then now a person with long experience in travel can resolve differences amongst people. Now this many people marked right. This is wrong. A person who has experience in travel can resolve differences, not amongst people, with other people. This I understand, that some person who has have long experience of travel, he can resolve differences with other people. Whatever differences I have, I will be able to resolve with other people. But resolving disputes amongst people is very different thing. That means I become a better judge. Then we should also have this criteria in Supreme Court, that if somebody wants to become a Supreme Court judge, we should ask how many countries have you been to. Correct? Because then only you get the experience to resolve differences amongst people is wrong. Travel is all about self-discovering and understanding the universal values according to this. So answer becomes A, 1 and 2. Yes, Neelam. Voice issue. Is anybody else also facing voice issue? Yes, Shweta. Yes, Neelam. Okay. Then, next. Yeah, try this. Okay, Bilal, you can just refresh once open it again. It should be fine. Now, let me do this question. I will tell you the reason. Now, why I have taken this question? Actually, this was a disputed question. Disputed in the sense that most of the coachings gave one answer and UPSC gave some other answer. Now, Why I have taken this is to teach you something else from the passage. Okay, now see. First thing, read the passage. It says geographers analyzed 175 satellite images of ocean color. Okay, so this is ocean color analysis. Then it says which is an indicator of phytoplankton productivity at the ocean's surface. Fine. So this is why they analyzed the ocean colors. Who? Geographers. Geographers analyzed ocean color to understand, to see how the phytoplankton, you know, microscopic plants, how is their growth then, and found that giant icebergs are responsible for storing up to 20% of carbon, 20% of carbon in the southern ocean. Correct? So giant icebergs are storing 20% of the carbon in southern oceans. Now, the researchers discovered that melting water from giant icebergs, okay, which contain iron and other nutrients, support hitherto unexpectedly high levels of phytoplankton growth. So what it is saying, that because of these giant icebergs, which are very rich in nutrients, when they melt, they actually host a very large number of phytoplankton or leads to phytoplankton growth. Now, first statement. Giant icebergs have a bearing on primary productivity and food chain of the southern ocean. Now, you might feel, that is why I said that the basis can be implicit also. Now, primary productivity, is this correct? Yes, it is correct, because phytoplankton are the primary producer in an aquatic system, in an aquatic environment. Primary productivity, correct? So it is saying have a bearing on primary productivity. Yes, because phytoplankton is getting affected by it. Now, and food chains of the southern ocean. Yes, southern ocean is also mentioned. So this is absolutely correct. Then the second statement is what caused the issue. Now, melting of giant icebergs can produce climate change effects and impact world fisheries. What do you think? Is this correct or incorrect? C and D both can be marked. See, first statement is definitely correct. Now, second statement, melting of giant icebergs can produce climate change effects. Yes, this is also fine, because it is storing 20% of the carbon. So we'll have climate change impact. This you understand, climate change effects. Now, and impact world fisheries. Now, what institute said that this was mainly about southern ocean. Correct. So impacting world fisheries is a little far off claim, which is a okay reasoning. Now, the reasoning with which UPSC went by was by southern ocean oscillations and all that you learn about. Because of that, everything is actually connected like a conveyor belt. So if something is happening in the southern oceans, that will also affect the fisheries around the world. So this is correct. Now, that is why now they gave this right, but I think this is too far. That is, it is going little too far from the passage itself, that you are now starting to use geographical concepts. So not a very good thing. Now, they gave this as an answer, but don't take it. Just because of this question, don't change your entire theory. That is how you do it. You see that it is going too far from the passage, okay, then you usually mark it wrong. It's okay. You would mark A, it will be wrong, does not matter. For one question, you need not do this. If coachings are also not getting it right, who have all the resources, everything, they also get a few questions incorrect. Because of questions like these, you will find some more in some random year. Don't change your theory. Your theory is good enough to score more than 20 to 22 questions correct. Many of my students have done that. That should be right. Okay, don't change the theory. Let it be right, wrong. You can debate it. Some people will feel that UPSC has given absolutely correct. Some people can say that they do anything. It can go on Twitter, does not matter. Okay, so the answer they gave is C, but does not matter. You learned what you wanted to learn from this question. Now, Yes, Dheeraj, yes. But the problem is, Dheeraj, that if you start thinking like this, then most things connect to the other. Correct? What we have learnt in assumptions, we try to stick to the passage. This creates a very bad habit. Okay, now here they may say that it is connecting, but if you start making the same connections, especially in economy based passages, you will find everything is connected to everything. Correct? So then you will tend to mark more questions wrong than right. So this is not a good question for learning. Okay, this is to learn the trap. Then last, do this and stick to the process. If it is not there in the passage directly, they may have given whatever answer. We will stick to the process. Not given in the passage, we will usually mark it wrong. Dheeraj saying I leave the question. Yeah, fine. It's fine. You leave, you attempt, you get some wrong. It's fine. All part of the process. Okay, let's see. So it says by the time children reach class 8th, the bulk of them tend to be in the age range of 13 to 15 years. Okay, but in our country, about a quarter of all children in class 8th struggle with reading simple text, and more than half are still unable to do basic arithmetic operations like division. Now, what you should be marking is only this. About a quarter of all children in class 8th struggle. Correct? Now how they struggle, what they are not able to do, not very important. Now next thing, every year about 25 million young boys and girls from elementary school move into life that lies far beyond compulsory schooling. Then they cannot enter the workforce, at least in the organized sector, till they are 18. Okay, then for many families these children are the first from their families ever to get this far in school. Parents and children expect that such graduates from school will go to high school and college. They will go on to high school and college. Hardly anyone wants to go back to agriculture. So this is go back to agriculture. On the other hand, abilities in terms of academic competencies are far lower than they should be based on the curricular expectations of class 8th. This much is enough, that about a quarter of all children in class 8 struggle in the basic things. Then their parents are very hopeful. Okay, so the parents and children are expecting that once they have graduated, they will go to high school and colleges and will never want to go back to agriculture, but their abilities and academic competencies are very limited. This is the whole RC. Now, for effective school education, parents have a greater role than the governments. Is it saying anything like this? In fact, it is saying for many of them, this is the first time any children is going to school properly. So of course, this is not the assumption. Then school curriculum that conforms to today's requirements and is uniform for the entire country would address the issues brought out. Does it suggest this, that there should be exactly same education throughout? Correct? Does it say anything like this? No, it does not. So this is also incorrect. Answer becomes D, that is both are invalid. Yes, Dheeraj, yes, Shweta. Fine. Done. Okay. Now this is the last thing that we need to know. Now, all those 5 rules you remember, the 3 traps you remember, okay, the process of how you attempt normal question or a assumption based question or a assumption plus normal question together if it comes in one passage, those all things you remember. Now, if everything that you have learned till now still does not get you to the final option, now what you do, learn that. Okay, now see, these I am calling deciders. So there are 3 categories that I have done. First is the rules. First is the rules. All right. Correct? Those 5 rules we learned. Then the 3 traps that we learned. And the last thing is the deciders. If these are also not working, then these are the 2 deciders that you can use. Now, what are they? So first is tonality of the RC usually matches the correct option. So if you are confused what the passage is all about, so especially in the crux based questions, main idea based questions, okay, so then what you need to think is what is the tonality of the RC. Okay, now is it praising something throughout? Is it critical in nature, or is it concerned about something? For example, some passages are talking about if we don't work on climate change now, we might be the generation to blame, or as Barack Obama said, that we may be the first generation to feel the effect of climate change, the last to have the ability to do anything about it. Correct? So all this is about concern. So understanding this, that is the passage praising anything, being critical about anything, or is concerned about anything, that is called tonality. Other way is optimistic, pessimistic, or neutral. Now, why this is important? Very rarely, but you will find certain passages which are completely pessimistic. Okay, where the author will be talking about a country like India with the level of population and the history that we have will never grow like countries like China or other developed countries. We won't be getting into the developed countries ever. Like something completely pessimistic, negative, it will talk about. Now, just mark this, okay, that if the complete passage is very pessimistic, rare case, then the extreme words also becomes allowed in the options, because the entire passage itself is saying कि India का कुछ नहीं होगा, India will not do anything. Then of course the option that you should be choosing also should be extreme in nature. So then you have to see, but very rare case. Then matter of fact or suggestive. Is the passage, now this is a very good criteria, that is the passage all about matter of fact? That is, it is telling that, let's say it is talking about semiconductor industry in India. So semiconductor industry in India is a very important industry. It right now covers only this % of the global market. What we are doing, these are the initiative government is taking to promote semiconductor industry. All that is written. What is this? This is a matter of fact kind of reading comprehension. Now, what is a suggestive reading comprehension? It will say that semiconductor is the future. If India wants to be the frontier country in this future, it must invest in semiconductor technologies. For that, we must be developing fabrication labs which are not present in India, and we are dependent on other countries. Okay, so what is this? This is suggestive in nature. This differentiation helps a lot. Why? Because you will find in many questions, if you are confused in the last 2 options, you will find that one of them is actually matter of fact and one of them is actually suggestive. So then you can be very clear the author was giving suggestions or he was just stating the facts. Okay, then second decider is using reverse title. Reverse title, so basically the famous one is giving title to the passage. That I think won't work very good in CSAT. So what I said, you do reverse titling. That is, if the options were the topic, for example, this I used in that question where we were using that, will it be right to duty, duty to vote, right to vote, right to participate in elections, all those things were there, correct? So in that I said that if it were right to vote, what would the passage look like? So this is a test that you do. If the options were the topic, what the RC would look like. Just see it for once, close your eyes and see it for once. If this was the topic, what would I write? If you have done little bit of answer writing, you would know that what are the usual things that will be there. It suddenly clears a lot of things. Now, when you have to use the deciders, only when you are eventually stuck between options after doing all of this. Otherwise, this is something that you use rarely. Every question you don't start thinking about tonality, giving reverse title, otherwise you will waste a lot of time. Please be very careful. Okay, you are learning so many things. I am not giving you 3 rules through which you can score 55 marks in this reading comprehension. All those videos that I am not making. I am giving you a complex thing, but please use it wisely. Okay, these are not some fixed rules that comes from books. These are made by me only. Okay, when I solved all the papers, when I analyzed it with friends of mine, okay, who were very good at RCs. So all of us decided that these are the points that the work, and then came these notes. Okay, this is not some thing that is from the book itself. That is why please use it wisely. I am telling you, just try to use the rules. Of course, avoid the traps. And when you get stuck, even in some questions, then you get to the two deciders, that is tonality of the passage and the reverse titling. Understood? Okay. This is it. Now is your time. This we have already seen. Now is your time to start doing that paper. So right now it is exactly 2:1, or let's call it 2:2. Now what you have to do, you have to do till page number 141. So till page number 141, that is question number 35 you have to do. This is half the paper. Okay, this is 14 questions. Now these 14 questions I now expect you to do by, let's say, 2:25. Okay, this much time you have, you can start the paper. For those who don't have the paper, you can go to UPSC_Prakhar on this Telegram channel. You will find the paper. Lakshmikant, hi again, and bye again as well. You have to do till question number 35. Okay, thank you, Neelam. You attempt the paper. Meanwhile, I am writing all the rules, traps, and everything that you learned on one page. This will act for your revision. Okay. XYZ, you have gotten the PDF. You have to solve all till 35. Okay. The PDF is there on this Telegram channel. The last post is this only. Okay, Neelam. Okay, answers have started coming. 7 minutes you have left. Okay. Yeah. Mm. Okay, Neelam. Okay, Dheeraj. Good attempts both. Last 2 minutes. Okay, Shweta has also done. Mm. Okay, most of you have done the initial questions, absolutely correct. A few wrongs here and there, but otherwise, Dheeraj, Neelam, Shweta, yeah, all of you, good attempt. Okay, that's it. We are done. Now we'll start with the Shankar is also A D C C. Yes, yes, Shankar. A D C C B B B B B B B B. Okay, C B C B. Yeah, Shankar also. Good attempt. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so this was 2023 paper. Okay, this was a decent level of paper. If you are doing good here, you are doing well. Okay, like rarely, like in 2021 I felt the paper was little tougher than this, but otherwise this is the level or lower than this. Okay, now I am talking about RCs. If you consider mathematics and reasoning also, then I think 2023 was the most difficult paper. After that 2025. Then let's get started. Passage 1. Now most of you have done the passage 1 correctly. First thing what we have to do, we see what is asked in the question, latest question and the options. Okay, now as you see here in 2023 most of the questions were like these, that is one passage and one question was there. That's why it was considered little tough. Okay, so what happens if the number of passages is also very large? For example, here I think 2024 passages they gave, while in 2025 they gave only 16 passages. So that depends. So if there are less passages, then you can do it much more quicker. Okay, then let's see this. So first is this. So a national pragmatic legal and policy framework for water allocation should be made. What do you think? Yes, seems correct. Okay, then all river systems of the country should be linked. All extreme gone. Water channels between regions of water surplus and regions of water deficit should be created. Now this is a very old thing, but we have, like, at a policy level we have rejected this because this can cause a lot of ecological imbalance connecting this river to that river. We don't know what all things it causes. There's something known as river basin, so all those effects are there. But anyway, you want to keep, you keep it there. To mitigate water crisis, water demand of sectors such as agriculture and industry should be reduced. So either it is about reducing the water demand in agriculture and industry, either it is this, or it is about a policy framework that is pragmatic, national, legal, all this. So either it is about a policy framework for water allocation or it is about water demand in agriculture and industry. Now, if you read the passage, you see it very clearly. The first statement itself starts here. We often hear about conflicts among different states in India over river waters. Of all the 20 major systems, 14 are already water stressed, all this. Okay. Then it talks about, according to the Constitution of India, water is a state subject and not that of union. What is this? All this is discussing policy, that how policy should be made. So of course this is not about reducing demand in the industry and agriculture. Answer becomes A. Then quickly move forward. This is passage 2. Now passage 2, education system must be strengthened in rural areas. Very generic statement. Mostly they are not true, but you cannot eliminate them. Okay, so you just keep them. So either it is about education system, then large scale and effective implementation of skill development program is the need of the hour, or it is about skill development, or for economic development, health and nutrition of only skilled workforce needs special attention. Isn't this too discriminatory? Correct. Only skilled workers. Why? Unskilled workers are not human. Their health is not health. Huh? So this is cancelled out. Now, for rapid economic growth, as envisaged by us, attention should be paid to health and nutrition of the people. So either it is about education system or skill development or health and nutrition. If you read the passage, it starts with these many people in India face anemia, then these number of people face tuberculosis, all that is written. It is all about health and nutrition, answer becomes D. Okay, I will move forward a little quickly. Okay, if you get a specific doubt in some question, that you type out. Okay, because I'm considering you have read the entire passage. Now me explaining the passage again, initially it was fine, but now you have become better. So it is just time killing. So I'll move little quicker. Then let's come here. It is asking you about, again same message conveyed. Now adaptation to climate change and mitigation response are basically the responsibilities of the government. Wrong, correct? It is our responsibility also. PM Modi talks about mission life, where you should bring lifestyle changes, correct? Then climate change causes a change in government policies regarding land use patterns in the country. Yes, maybe if the government is considering it with due importance. Then risk perception of farmers are important for motivating them for taking adaptation decisions. So either it is about adaptation decision of the farmers or it is about climate change and government policies. Then last, since mitigation is not possible, government should come up with policies for quick response to climate change. Now, this is extreme statement that mitigation means what? Stopping climate change. That it is saying it is not possible only. So this is wrong. Extreme statement. Gone. Now it is comparing climate change and government policies or farmer and adaptation decisions. Now if you read the passage, it is all around farmers. See, in India, a majority of farmers do this. They have low adaptive capabilities. Then here also you will find farmers. Then one more time you will find farmer. So it's farmer. It is not about government policy directly. So answer becomes C. That is, risk perception of farmers are important for motivating them for adaptation decisions. Then next you come to this. Now businesses that cause emissions may need to close down or pay for pollution in future. Maybe this is polluters pay principle being said. I don't know the passage, so maybe the only solution is technological development related to issues of climate change. What do you think? Only solution is technological development. Okay, it seems like an extreme statement. If you want to eliminate it, you can eliminate, or if you believe in technology a lot, you can keep it. Does not matter. Now, waiting to deal with carbon emissions until technology improves is not a wise strategy. So it is saying that you are waiting so that the technology improves and somehow everything becomes okay. This is not a wise strategy. Okay, maybe the passage is about this, that is waiting to deal with carbon emissions until technology comes. Then since future technological change is uncertain, new industries should be based on renewable energy resources. Now this is a very illogical statement, correct? Because you cannot just immediately shift to renewable energy, correct? It is not even saying non-fossil fuel based energy. In fact, the world is actually focusing on nuclear energy, correct? So saying this not very likely. So either it is about technological development being the only solution, or waiting for the technological development to come is not a very wise strategy. Now if you read this whole passage, the emissions human put into the atmosphere will affect the climate in the middle of the century and onwards. Technological change meanwhile could make a future transition away from fossil fuels cheap, or it might not. What does this mean? Technological change meanwhile could make a future transition away from fossil fuel cheap, or it may not. That means what? It is not reliable. We don't know what technology will do. So option B, which said that only technology will help us mitigate climate change, something on these lines, is incorrect, because it might not, leaving the world with a terrible choice between sharply reducing emissions at huge cost or suffering through the effects of unabated warming. Now this sentence people get confused by. Businesses that do not hedge against the threat of uncertain outcomes fail. This is nothing related to the passage. This is actually a quote. You sometimes put quote na, That Swami Vivekananda ji also said this. Okay, what my argument is, he also said something similar, that fishes are like this. So of course what you were writing was about some other kind of philosophical thing, but you introduce Vivekananda ji and his arguments about the fish, because just like a quote. So this is also a quote, that businesses that do not hedge against the threat of uncertain outcomes fail. Similarly, if the world does not hedge against uncertain outcomes, it will fail. This is the whole point of it. Okay, so answer becomes B. Sorry, answer becomes C. That is, waiting to deal with carbon emissions until technology improves is not a wise strategy. Then, next, most rational assumption. Okay, now assumption. So let's read the passage. Now, what it says: environmental problems cause health problems. Okay, environmental problems causes health problems. Then substantial changes in lifestyle can reduce environmental or health problems. Okay, so this is talking about changes in lifestyle helping to reduce environmental or health problems. Then, but this idea appears almost impossible to adopt. Correct? So this idea that changes in lifestyle can reduce environmental or health problems, this seems very impossible to adopt. Why impossible to adopt? Because with environmental problems, individual efforts can be perceived as having a negligible effect. Correct? Like if you look at environmental problem, for example, place where I am living, okay, this place Jayanagar, okay, Bangalore, is not very clean. Now, even if I start taking some individual effort, it won't become clean. Correct? Because there are so many people, there are lakhs of people that live here. Okay, and they will keep on creating all this rubbish, they will keep throwing, and because of that, this area cannot be cleaned just by me. Now, because of that, what happens? People develop the wrong notion that because individual efforts are not working, so they just stop caring about the environmental things and they start focusing on individual health more and more. Then, and therefore lead to inertia. With health, on the other hand, individual choices can make difference between life and death. So with health, why people are serious about health? Because either they are treated or not treated. That is the difference between life and death, literally. And yet, barring a few, there seems to be the same collective lethargy towards making their choices. This is talking about what? This is now talking about health. It is saying that except for few, people are even waiting for their health to deteriorate to just solve that problem, instead of taking the proper steps to be healthy all the time. Correct? This is the main crux of the passage that came at the last. Now, if you read the option, we are likely to spend more on cure than prevention. Yes, absolutely correct. Now, it is the job of the government to solve our environmental public health problems. No. Health can be protected even if environmental problems go unattended. No, the passage does not say this. It is also untrue. Then, loss of traditional lifestyle and the influence of Western values led to unhealthy ways of living. This is also wrong. It is not talking about Western values anyway. So answer A becomes much more clear using it. But even if the options were close, you understand this was the crux. So it is like a passage where it is the author is saying something, eventually to come to a conclusion that we are spending more money on cure than prevention. Then similar was that passage where at last it mentioned that atop which sits a polar bear. It talked about all about the Arctic summer, winter, whatever, and at last it told atop which sits the polar bear. That means what is threatening the polar bear. So that was explained before. Understood? So sometimes passages are written like this. Then, crux of the passage. So this is the scheme of universal basic income should be implemented worldwide as a way of poverty alleviation. Maybe it is being talked about a lot. So either it is about universal basic income, or we must place food-based nutrition at the center of policy debate, or it is about food-based nutrition being placed at the center of policy debate. Then nutritional status of food should be improved by creating appropriate, or it is about genetically modified crops. Using modern food processing technologies, we must fortify food items which with required nutrient elements. So either it is about fortification, which is an example of processing technology. Now, if you read the passage, you will find it very clearly that it is talking about how our how India is producing a very large quantity of food, but it is not able to reach the people, or we are facing malnutrition also. Now, why we are facing this? Because those two things are not aligned. That is, the production and it being delivered to people, the nutritional food is not aligned, and that is the problem it talks about entirely. So, of course, was not about universal basic income, was not about GM crops also, was not about fortification also. As I told you, these keywords from the syllabus are picked, and people used to tend to have a positive connotation towards them. Please be careful. They give this as a rubbish statement also, rubbish option very usually. So GM crops, fortification, universal basic income, all wrong. This is correct. Understood? Then next, most logical rational implication. Now see this passage, arbitrary curves on vehicles to reduce pollution are difficult to implement. Maybe if this is a matter of fact passage, then this might be true, correct? Arbitrary curves on vehicles to reduce pollution are difficult to implement. Then the whole passage will be like, it is difficult to implement because you have a large number of vehicles, we don't have that many number of policemen, this that would be the passage. Then knee-jerk reactions cannot solve the problem of pollution, but an evidence-based approach will be more effective. That means this passage will be first giving you the facts why the knee-jerk reactions won't work, and then it might be giving you some suggestion also at the end. I'm doing it a different way just to explain you. Then a heavy penalty should be enforced on those driving without periodic pollution test. What do you think? Not very likely. If it is a matter of fact passage entirely, then it may be true. But in absence of laws to deal with problems of pollution, the administration tends to make arbitrary decisions. What do you think? If it is completely critical in nature, that is, it is not providing any solution, it is telling that government do what? Because they want to deal with pollution, they just take arbitrary decisions. So either it is critical, or it is matter of fact, or it is first it is giving some facts and then some suggestion. Now, if you have read the passage, you know very clearly. See, from here only you can see what is needed. What needed is the scientific and reliable information about the source of pollutants on a continuing basis and the technologies that will work to reduce pollution from them. Is it giving a suggestion also? Correct? It is giving a suggestion also. The initial part talks about that odd even philosophy of all those knee-jerk reactions will not work and why it won't work. The last part is telling that what should be done. So this is a combination of both of these. So answer becomes B. Then okay, it is important agenda of the countries around the world to ensure access to good external financing. Not really, not really. Why? Because why this should be an agenda of any country, that they should be getting good external financing, correct? Like India also have started depending less and less on external financing, correct? We are mostly borrow from our own banks. That actually saves our country's currency. So it is not a very good thing to do. Then Pakistan of course has to have this as agenda. Then good corporate governance improves the credibility of the firms. So either it is about good corporate governance and credibility of the firms. Then international capital markets ensures that firm maintain good corporate governance. So it is either about international capital markets and good corporate governance. Then good corporate governance paves the way for robust supply chains, or it is about corporate governance and robust supply chains. Now let's see the passage. So you have it in your mind, good corporate governance is common, correct? Now this one is saying that it gives credibility to the firms. This says that it creates robust supply chains. This is saying that international markets actually ensure good corporate governance. These are the three options. Now, now let's see. So it says good corporate governance structures encourage companies to provide accountability and control. Fine. A fundamental reason why corporate governance has moved onto economic and political agenda worldwide has been the rapid growth in international capital markets. So it does mention that one of the reasons why we are having better corporate governance is because of international capital markets. Because other countries, people will only invest in your company if you have good corporate governance. Then effective corporate governance enhances access to external financing, okay, then by firms, leading to greater investment, okay, higher growth and employment. Then investors look to place their funds where the standards of disclosure, of timely and accurate financial reporting, and of equal treatment to all stakeholders are met. Now now if you look, you might get confused between two options. See, first is incorrect. Correct. External financing of the agenda of the countries around the world. No. Then it is not talking about supply chains also. So this is also wrong. Now these two are confusing. That is, good corporate governance improves the credibility of the firm, or international market capital markets ensure that the firms maintain good corporate governance. Now actually this is mentioned in the passage, but more things are mentioned about good corporate governance. Okay, now why international capital markets do this? Because the firms want to maintain more of their credibility. Now it does not just say it about international capital markets. It also says that external financing also becomes easier, correct, and it also leads to many fundamental changes in the organization as well. So it is a more appropriate option that to choose this, that is, good corporate governance improves the credibility of the firms. So B is the answer. Then then yeah. So this is about elephants. The home range of elephant needs to be a vast area of rich biodiversity. Okay, elephants are the keystone species and they benefit the biodiversity. Yeah, yeah. Okay, then rich biodiversity cannot be maintained in the forest without the presence of elephant. I think this is too extreme. In fact, there are many forests in India which have very rich biodiversity which don't have elephants. Correct. There are many. If you have read about elephant corridors, you know only limited states have elephants in India. Correct. It does not mean that they cannot have rich biodiversity. So this is extreme statement, wrong. Then elephants are capable of regenerating forest with species as per their requirement. Okay, okay, not very like it is still an extreme statement. Are capable of regenerating forest with species as per their requirement. No, not completely regenerating the forest. They help in regenerating the forest is a more correct term. See, if you have read something in environment, you must know that the primary succession or the secondary successions you might have heard of, those are mostly led by microorganisms and plants. Those are the things that can regenerate forest. Animals comes much later. Okay, because plants, if there are plants, then only the elephant will eat it. Na, elephant khana thodi banata hai. So main thing cannot be elephant, most probably wrong, but anyway. Now if you read the passage, it says elephants are landscape architects. Clearing in the forest prevents overgrowth of certain plant species, allowing space for regeneration of others, which in turn provides sustenance to others herbivore animals. Elephants eat plants, fruits, and seeds, propagating the seeds when they defecate in other places as they travel. Now, this is a feature, very important feature of a keystone species, that it is promoting other species also. Elephant dung provides nourishment to plants and animals and acts as a breeding ground for insects. Okay. In times of droughts, they access water by digging holes which benefit other wildlife. अरे बेचारा सब कुछ तो कर रहा है, he is doing everything. So why he is not the keystone species? Of course, he is the keystone species in a forest. Keystone species you must know. A species on which the existence of the most of the other animals depend, and that dependency is being shown in the passage. So answer becomes D. Then next, yeah, so this is about assumptions. Now let's see this, because this is assumption, we'll read it first. In India, the segregation of municipal waste at source is rare. Okay, so segregation in India is rare. Okay, then recycling, another term, is mostly with the informal sector. Correct. Then more than 3/4 of the municipal budget goes into collection and transportation. Correct, which leaves very little for processing or resource recovery and disposal. So very little for processing or resource recovery. Correct. Then where does waste to energy fit into all this? So next term is waste to energy. Where will it fit? Then ideally it fits in the chain after segregation. Now one thing more, whatever is written in the bracket, why it is written in the bracket, you only open the bracket when you don't understand it already. Otherwise you can ignore the bracket. Like you understand segregation, na? Then why you have to read this? You need not read it. If you don't, then you can read it. Then collection, recycling, and before getting to the landfill. Okay, so here waste to energy will fall somewhere between here, that is after segregation, collection, recycling, but before throwing it to the landfills. Then which technology is most appropriate in converting waste to energy? So which technology most appropriate in converting waste to energy depends on what is in the waste. Now again bracket, not needed, and its calorific value. The biodegradable component of India's municipal solid waste is little over 50%. What is little over 50%? Biodegradable component. Then, and biomethanation offers a major solution for processing this. Correct. So this is the next term, that is biomethanation. Understood? So first it tells the problem that segregation is rare, recycling is mainly done by informal sector, most of the money is lost here only, then there is not much money left for waste to energy. Now even if we are using waste to energy, what kind of technology we should be using, that depends. In India it is saying because there are more biodegradable components, biomethanation can be good. Okay, so I have summarized the whole passage. Now let's read this. Based on the passage, as which of the following assumptions can be made? Collection, processing, and segregation of municipal waste should be with government agencies. Resource recovery and recycling require technological inputs that can be best handled by private sector enterprises. What do you think? It does not even talk about who should be handling what. What are these? Should be. What are these? Can be best. What are these? These are suggestive in nature. If you read the entire passage, it is all about matter of fact, what happens in India. There is only one suggestion. That suggestion is of that what we can do, we can go for biomethanation. Other than that, it is a completely matter of fact based passage. That is, it is telling that India faces this problem. Informal sector handles the recycling. Waste to energy does not have enough resources. All matter of fact. Nothing like who should be doing what. So both of these are incorrect. This is correct. Both of these are correct according to your GS knowledge. That is why in assumptions we read the question first, the passage first. This is correct. Government should be doing this. The private sector should be doing this. But both is wrong. Answer is D. Then Then next, generation of energy from municipal solid waste is inexpensive. What do you think? Inexpensive means very cheap. Is it cheap? No. As I told you, most of the green technology, good technology, sustainable technologies are much more costly, less efficient, but they are more sustainable. Understood? So, generation of energy from municipal solid waste is inexpensive. Incorrect. Then, biomethanation is the most ideal way of generating energy from municipal solid waste. Maybe. The passage does talk about this. Segregation of municipal solid waste is the first step in ensuring the success of waste to energy plants. And the last is the biodegradable component of India's municipal solid waste is not adequate to provide energy from waste efficiently or effectively. Passage does not mention this, that this is not sufficient, that is not sufficient. The passage is not mentioned there. Now you have to choose between B and C. Just a second. Now you have to choose crux. Crux is what? Crux is what? It should be the core issue. Now these two are gone. Either it is about biomethanation being the most ideal way, or it is about segregation of municipal waste. Being the first step in ensuring the success of waste to energy plants. Now, some people may have went this way, which is biomethanation. Now, you can just compare them. So, biomethanation is actually given in the last part, that according to the waste that India has, biomethanation can be one of the most ideal ways. But this is actually not all encompassing. Now, the thing is that you can make an argument that this is also not all encompassing. Correct? That is why what we had written majority approach. It covers segregation also, and segregation being very important or the core issue in waste to energy plants also. That's why it has much better coverage. Answer becomes C, that is taking the majority approach. Then this is organic. Yeah. Now, I think this paragraph we have read somewhere. Okay, so let's see the crux based passage first. So this is about what is the crux. See, now I am following what I told you. When you get both kinds of question, what you do. So now it is saying what is the message conveyed by the author. So I will first read this. In India, organic farming should not be promoted as a substitute for conventional farming. Should not be promoted as a substitute. Yeah, maybe. But then it has to be comparison of organic and conventional farming. Then there are no safe organic alternatives to chemical fertilizer. Absolutely wrong. In India, farmers need to be guided and helped to make their organic farming sustainable. Yeah, correct. So either it is about farmer and them being guided. Then the aim of organic farming should not be to generate huge profits, as there is still no global market. No, wrong. There is a growing global market. So either it is about organic farming versus conventional farming, or farmers being unaware or unguided. Then if you start reading the passage, see this. There is a claim that organic farming is inherently safer and healthier. Okay, then the reality is that because organic farming industry is still young and not well regulated, so young and not well regulated in India, farmers and consumers alike are not only confused about what products are best for them, but sometimes use products in the way that could harm them as well. Correct? Till now, what is the passage talking about? It is talking about farmers being unguided. Can you feel this? Correct? It is not talking about any other thing. So most probably the farmer one is the answer. What you should do, you should just mark that option which says about farmers in the crux. Now you continue. But sometimes use products in ways that could harm them as well. For example, after for example, what you do? You never read it. For example, since search for the full stop. Search for the full stop. Then certain plant sprays such as dhatura, flower and leaf spray have an element called atropine. Okay, this is about plant sprays. Then if it is not applied in the right dose, it can act on the nervous system, okay, of the consumer. Unfortunately, how much and when to use, it are not well researched or regulated issues. This is the problem with India, that how much and when to use, that is again lack of training. Understood? Now, so the passage is all about organic farming. The claim is there that it has inherently safer and healthier, but the problem in India is because it is not well regulated, so farmers and consumers both are little bit confused. They sometimes start using certain things which can be very harmful. For example, this atropine found in dhatura, then which can affect our nervous system. That is why they don't know how much and when to apply. Then now if you come to the questions, first this question, this you should do right there and then. So this was it comparison of organic and conventional? No, it was all about farmers being guided, correct? So you mark C in the middle only, don't think much, just mark it and continue reading the passage. Then now, based on the above passage, the following assumptions have been made. Organic farming is inherently unsafe for both farmers and consumers. What do you think? Unsafe? No. That is not the claim in the passage. The passage does not even claim safe. This also is wrong. Organic farming is inherently safe for both farmers and consumers. This is also wrong. Why? The passage says that is the claim. But in India, because they are not educated, it is not very safe always. And it gives an example of dhatura also, that has atrophy. So then also it would have been wrong. Unsafe is absolutely wrong. Then farmers and consumers need to be educated about eco-friendly food. This is correct. Answer becomes 2 only. Then last, I think, yes, 35, no? Yeah. Now again, assumptions. Let's read the passage. So it says, food consumption patterns have changed substantially in India over the past few decades. Then this has resulted in the disappearance of many nutritious food such as millets. So millets disappearance is being talked about. Then while food grain production has increased over 5 times since independence, it has not sufficiently addressed the issue of malnutrition. So on one side it is saying the production has increased, but malnutrition has also increased. Then for long, the agricultural sector focused on increasing food production, particularly staples. Staples are rice, wheat, all this, which led to lower production and consumption of indigenous traditional crops or grains, fruits and other vegetables. Then further, intensive monoculture. So this is about monoculture. Agricultural practice can perpetuate the food and nutrition security problem by degrading the quality of land, water and food derived through them. Correct? So what are the issues it talks about? It talks about food consumption patterns changing. Correct? Then it talks about disappearance of millets. The production has increased in India, but malnutrition has also increased. Why? Because we have focused overly on staples and monoculture. Can you see just by these 5 words, you can summarize the passage? Okay, then this will come with practice, at which words you are marking. Then let's see this. So it says, so this is which of the following assumptions can be made. Now this is the first assumption. See, to implement the sustainable development goals and to achieve zero hunger goal, monoculture agriculture practice are inevitable even if they do not address malnutrition. No. It does not talk about sustainable development goals, and also it critiques monoculture. Then dependence on a few crops has negative consequence for human health and the ecosystem. What do you think? Does the passage talk about this? Yes. The term of monoculture. What is monoculture? And just growing more and more staples. This is the same thing. Correct? And it is having negative impact. Then government policies regarding food planning need to incorporate nutritional security. Correct? It is talking about this, that we are just growing staples and not nutrition rich fruits and vegetables and millets. So this is also seems correct. Then for the present monoculture agriculture practice, farmer receives subsidies in various ways and government offers remunerative prices for grains, and therefore they do not tend to consider crop diversity. Absolutely the most important reason according to GS why in India we have rice wheat system, but absolutely wrong according to the RC. RC does not talk about the government subsidy, PDS, nothing. So this was put so that you understand what is your GS knowledge and what is given in the passage. Understood? Absolutely wrong. According to the passage, it does not even mention it. According to GS, this is the most important reason. So now 1 and 4 are gone, 2 and 3 are left. Answer becomes B, 2 and 3. Okay, how many marks you got? How many marks you got? I want to know the marks. How many questions you got correct? Okay, the remaining questions. So 14 questions we have done, 13 are remaining. Now this we had taken around 23 minutes. For that you take exactly 20 minutes. Try to do those 13 questions also. Okay, that is wherever. So in this post only it is posted, correct? There only you can solve it. I will post the answer key also there. Okay, in the comments only you will find the answer key. If you get any doubts in them, then you can ask there in the comments. I will answer them. Okay, so the half of the paper is left that you have to do. Okay, you have to do, and for the answer key will be available. Doubts if you have, you can ask. Write in the comments. How much you got? Dheeraj is saying full. Full. Shweta is saying 12. Okay, how many questions were there? How many questions were there? I gave 14 questions. Oh, 12. Very good. Okay, okay. So you people are doing very well. Okay, you need not be scared of RCs at all. But please don't be complacent also. I will post like some RCs of some years. I will post on the Telegram channel. Write in the comments. I will post the answer key also. Please solve them. Okay, you are doing well. You're doing well. Most of you, this is like very high scores. Okay, if you consider anybody, if you compare it with anybody, these are the highest scores you will ever hear. Okay, so you are getting good scores, but please don't be complacent. So I will post some of the difficult RC papers that have come and that you try to solve. Answer key and the official paper like this. Okay, please solve them just for practice. Someday I will post, like not immediately, within a week or sometime I will post. Please attempt them. That's it. That will be required from RC. Please try to remember these 5 rules, these 3 traps and these 2 deciders. It will help you solve the questions. This is it for reading comprehension. If you need anything specifically with respect to this section, you can ask in the comments. I will try to entertain that as well. Tomorrow we'll be doing again, like one chapter is left, that is time, speed and distance. For this week that we'll do, and then the next day we will cover that HCF LCM part of the number system that was left, and that will be end of the course. Understood? Okay, Shankar is also saying 14 out of 14. Okay, okay, very good everyone. I am very happy with the performance. Okay, that's it. Thank you.